It's Women Wednesday. That means we have a heck of a show in store for you. Two incredible women entrepreneurs on our show today. Find out who they are coming up next. To the point, and I'm Eric Mitchell. It is an absolute tragedy that COVID-19 has affected so many things, from sports to our entertainment world. We've talked to the comic book men, we've talked to the comic book people, but who we haven't spoke to is the arts. We've talked to the people in commercial world, but we haven't talked to the people affected by the Broadway shutdown, or the fact that most film production has been shut down. What do artists go do? And when I talk about artists, I'm including those creative types, the amazing actors and actresses that we have throughout America that go not making a lot of money and depend on the arts, depend on Broadway, depend on these traveling performances. As we all sit down in front of our TV and enjoy Disney Plus and watch Hamilton, or we turn on all these amazing things, if you look at what's on Broadway, a lot of our favorite movies and favorite plays have either become one or the other, right? You look at Moulin Rouge, which is on Broadway, and tragically won't open again until next year. Today's guest is going to shine some light on what to expect when we do bounce back from COVID-19 with the arts. So let's get to the point with today's guest, Miss Valorie Hubbard. And welcome to the show, Valorie. How are you doing today?
I am very good. Thank you for asking.
Awesome to have you here. So let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart is the arts, Broadway. And I know, unfortunately, as the news of Broadway shutting down for the remainder of the year came tragically just a few days before the passing of Nick Cordero. So it really hasn't been in the media a lot. And obviously there's a lot going on in the media where Broadway is probably the last thing a lot of these mainstream folks want to talk about. But to a lot of us, going to Broadway, seeing these amazing performances has really been brought to light by Disney Plus in the last couple weeks with Hamilton being brought to our screen. And I don't know about you, I didn't get to go see Hamilton live, but we sat in front of our TVs with our jaws to the floor watching that amazing production on Disney Plus just the other evening.
Yeah, my cousin is a Broadway actor, Chad Burris, and he had just stepped into Damien Hubbard in Mean Girls on Tuesday before Broadway had shut down on that Thursday night, which was really sad and disappointing. And he went back to Arkansas, where he's living with his family while he's waiting it out. And then I had another really good friend, Alexandra Billings, that was in Wicked on Broadway, and she was in a year contract, so she went back to Los Angeles. And she's writing a book. So how exciting. But, I work with actors. And so a lot of my clients that are sort of pursuing the Broadway realm, a lot of them have decided to move to LA and go for TV or just turn their focus in on TV right now.
That makes a lot of sense. So, what do you think is going to happen with Broadway? Is this going to be, it wasn't supposed to go this far. Obviously, we're all caught off by COVID-19, and I don't want to get political here. But as I look around the environment, I see New York is doing a good job. The curve is actually, what was once the epicenter is now moved down to what I call New York 2.0 or Florida.
Yeah.
It's crazy down there. Obviously, its difference in leadership is very clear when it comes to between Florida and the state of New York. We can go there all day long, but I don't want to do that. But what do you think, what's the realistic timeline for Broadway? Is all these actors that are under these contracts?
Someone said, well, some money is better than none, but that's not true because, the overhead to run a Broadway show is really expensive. So, people are like, well, why can't they just sell half a house? And I think that it's too expensive to do that. I mean, I don't know the numbers and all of that stuff, but it feels like there's no way they can put people. I mean, we've all sat in Broadway theaters, like yourself. I moved back to New York area a year ago. And in the year's time, I lived in LA for 16 years. In the year time I've been back, I've seen 8 Broadway shows, which is probably more than I saw in 16 years in LA. And so, I was so bummed because I was so happy to be back in this area, to be able to go see everything I wanted to see. But we've all been in theaters where we're, our knees are up to our mouth and we're, shoulder to shoulder with people we're in, some of the very few Broadway theaters that are more spread out, which is very few of them. Most of them are old theaters, and so they're very tight. And I just think that until they have a vaccine, I don't see how they're going to be able to open the theaters, which, again, we've already seen several Broadway shows say they're not going to reopen, right? Like Frozen is done. And so I'm very worried about Broadway. That's the thing that scares me, because that was a big pull for my husband and I moving back to the East Coast. I really missed that. I really missed seeing what was on the forefront of theater, and theater has been in danger for a long time. And I feel like this throws it, I think Bill Gates said that everything was expedited in the exponential change that was already occurring, that COVID expedited all of the exponential. And I believe we've seen that in our business, in the acting business. A lot of things that were sort of on the back burner to work on are now sort of being put in the front burner because they're becoming necessary. But I believe that it's a problem for Broadway to open up with half houses, because I think the overhead's too expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's primetime real estate. And as we've all seen, just watching and seeing some of those productions, and I know comparing anything on Broadway to Hamilton, which probably I think had the largest budget ever for a Broadway. Amazing performance, but a lot of that. I've seen Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. We've seen a lot of the shows, so the production value's there, but the overhead's ridiculous. So having half of an audience isn't going to help. But you're right. We went at Christmas time. We were in New York because my brother lives in Soho, so we were to spend time with him. He couldn't get time off, so we came to him, which is rough staying in Soho. I know. Shout out to the Dominic, our favorite little place, a slice of life to stay down there on Spring Street. Can't wait for them to reopen. In our state so far, I live in Oregon, and we're not on the list that has to stay 14 days in New York. Not that would be a bad thing, but New York is like the West Coast. Staying there for 14 days just gets really expensive. But, what I don't like to see is the fact that we don't have an opening time for the arts. And I think Broadway is so key. But we can't have large crowds. When I was there at Christmas time, we went to see the Rockettes. We did the touristy thing. But you're right on top of each other, and all those shows are. And they're not going to give up those seats, those primetime seats. Number one, the acoustics aren't designed for that, and it would just be weird to go to any venue without people. But we do need... I'm hoping Pro Sports figures it out, for expedited testing for some of these bigger Broadway shows to be able to continue on, because it's how a lot of these amazing actors that we see on TV, this is where they came from. They didn't just hop into TV. It's very rare to see that. I was just talking to Kelly Aucoin, who's an amazing Broadway actor that's in several TV shows now, like Billions. He plays Dollar Bill in Billions, and he's been in The Americans. And these guys all get their starts there. So I know your company has an interesting background working with those in the arts and helping them through the process. So let's talk about what you do and why this is so key that we figure out what's going on with Broadway. It's not just because we both love Broadway shows. Obviously, that's what we want. But let's talk about how this affects the actor and actresses out there that are the backbone behind the acting.
Right. So I've been an actress my whole life. I've done a lot of TV and film and a lot of important New York theater. And I have always worked with actors on their career. So I'm a business coach for actors. And 8 years ago, I started Actors Fast Track, which is really based on pure, business concepts. I mean, we teach an actor, the first thing we ever ask an actor is, what is the dream? And then we build a comprehensive business plan for them to achieve that dream, and we help them achieve that. And the thing that we're really good at also is, pivoting, because in any business, you have to keep up with what the climate is, what's called, for you to do. And so we've helped a lot of our clients through this time pivot their careers. Like, we had a client that was completely on the track of music theater. He was auditioning for the big music theater Broadway shows. He was really starting to book, and we had to help him pivot towards sitcom because he wants to keep working, and so he's pivoting towards putting himself out towards the customer base for sitcoms. And so, that's what we do. We help our actors navigate the business and everything to do with the business, from getting an agent or a manager to hiring a publicist to selling themselves on a regular basis to learning how to negotiate. Because, a lot of times jobs that the way our business is structured is definitely already changing. It was part of that exponential change that was occurring. And this COVID has expedited that. And so because we're probably going to come out of this in a recession, that a lot of the middlemen jobs that are probably going to start to go away. And a lot of the agencies have closed and will close also. And so, teaching an actor a skill set that maybe they didn't need before because there was people that filled those jobs, and now the structure of what we're doing is changing. And the one thing that we know for sure is there's going to be a lot of acting jobs, because anytime in this country there's ever been turmoil is when the acting has really taken off. And right now, as a nation, we have, as a world, we have, swallowed all the content. And so they need to replace that content. I don't know about you, but I pretty much come to the end of my Netflix.
Very true.
So they are desperate to create new content. And the industry, the film and TV industry, is figuring it out. I mean, Hallmark has already shot a TV show, a movie. Commercials are already back up and running. And we're talking in LA, which it's really bad there right now. And so, so they're figuring it out. I also think, speaking of that, Broadway can take a note out of that chapter and figure out how to shoot these shows and sell these shows.
Absolutely.
They don't have to do it live.
Yeah. And I think they proved that with Hamilton. I mean, that was shot a number of years ago, but how many people devoured that on July 3rd when it came out? I mean, I know I'm in line. I don't know very many people who didn't watch it. It was trending on Twitter. I mean, it was good. Finally, something positive to be trending on Twitter, other than somebody who writes in cap locks all the time and fills our Twitter with hate. It's nice to have something positive. And I know that there's a whole nother conversation. I've seen people come out and say Hamilton should be removed. I saw this yesterday. Hamilton should be removed from Disney Plus because of its controversy, because of Hamilton's wife. If you backstory, I'm like, number one, it's a play. Quit backstorying everything. That Hamilton's wife, Hamilton helped because they own slaves. I was like, okay. Number one, you should just be amazed by that cast, the talent that it took to do that. Lin-Manuel is an amazing. The gentleman who played George Washington, I keep telling people that was one of my favorite ones there. And whoever played Thomas Jefferson, he was fabulous.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
And so, what I think is that, then put slave play on. They won't put slave play. I don't know if you saw that. They won't put that on Disney Plus, but they could put it on Hulu or Netflix. Yeah. I mean, there's great breadth of plays and musicals that were on Broadway or were getting ready to be on Broadway that, if they, I just had a client who's a pretty big TV star in Germany. He just flew to Germany today because he's getting work in Germany. he's here, he's done TV here, but like he got a series in Germany, so he flew there and had to, and they tested him in the Frankfurt airport because they know what they're doing there. And if he's not positive, if he's negative, then he doesn't even have to quarantine. That's what they're doing in a lot of countries. You get to the airport, they test you. If you're negative, then you don't have to go in quarantine. If you're positive, you go in 2 weeks of quarantine. So they could test everyone in the cast, and they could bring them all back here, and they could shoot an episode. They could shoot a version, and they could put it and sell it to, and that way all the actors and the artists get paid and get credited, and we continue the art form until we're able to go back into the theaters again.
Yeah, and we need that. I mean, I think that is a key, is to figure out how we do it and make sure these So let me ask you this, and this is something that I have a lot of friends who work in this industry, and I want to know what you've been what you've been telling your performers to how they can power through this. I know every vertical, every level of doesn't matter if it's acting, it's just life in general, with so many people kind of dealing with COVID-19 and it affecting their work. They're either furloughed or they're at home. Obviously, working from home is a little difficult when you're an actor, unless you're doing cool voice work like you, who've done video games and cool stuff like that. You have quite the acting chops there. I got to give that to you. When I'm going through and I see video games in there, and that's pretty dope because
those were motion capture.
Those are so cool.
So, what I've been telling my clients is that we've been working a lot on pitching. And we've been working a lot on building relationships, especially with producers, directors, and writers. Because the one thing that I really saw during this is casting directors kind of shut down and agents kind of shut down. But the people that didn't shut down were the creators. And those are ultimately our real customers as actors, our producers, writers, and directors. So we worked on, during this time, building our relationships with those people because they have stories that they want to tell. And a lot of them were writing those stories or even casting those stories and so we reached out to those people, and my clients had quite a lot of good fortune with that. One of my clients got cast in 3 movies during COVID that are going to shoot next year.
Oh, nice.
So that's what we did. And lately this month, we've been working on, with our clients, on building a 1-minute pitch. And we've really worked on that and pitching straight to camera. Because, everything's digital now. It doesn't matter where you live. You can live on the moon. So we've just been, working on their pitches and really keeping them active and building relationships. And I have a lot of Black clients, so there's going to be so many stories told from the Black point of view, the Black, that thing, because of everything that happened with that this summer. So we've really been working with them to build relationships because, Ava DuVernay probably has written in the last month probably 10 films in her head, if not down on paper. So we've been working with them on building relationships, like, every day there's some new story or some new producer that's producing some TV or movie that I see on Deadline. So we've been really working with them to really get themselves known. The other thing that I've seen happen is a lot of actors have walked away from acting. So I feel like it's really, I understand why, because they've lost their jobs, but we're getting ready to enter the golden age for ourselves. So I've really just been keeping them actively getting in front of their customers.
I like that you say that, because it's funny because a lot of people don't understand the business of your profession. They just think you just show up. I think it's because we watch way too many movies. I mean, I see it as a comparison because I had to laugh because somebody today on Twitter, which has nothing to do with acting, but they made a post where they were talking about America, and they said, well, like a lot of our people who join the military because they have nowhere else to go and no options. And I was like, what 1960s movie were you watching that you think people join the military these days because we have no options? I like this person who wrote it. It wasn't Tucker Carlson, who's a knucklehead, but it was an actual, like, good dude who was like, hey, and he said it, and I said, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful, but you're talking about something you don't know about. And number two, this isn't 1961 where it was like either I go to jail or I join the Corps. No, we don't. That's not how it is. In acting, it takes a lot. I mean, I know my own sister who's now an EP for a lot of commercials. You know, she's done, of course, I think all of you guys in the acting profession, you get that bug and it just doesn't leave your system, and you will come hell and high water, you will figure it out, which is a great industry. But there's a lot of business in the industry. So it's great that you're sharing the business side of acting, which people probably go, what? They don't just show up and it's chorus line, you know, 1, 2. No, it's not. So is there anything like, so how do you, so with these folks learning how to pitch, it's all virtual, right? It's all done Zoom.
Yeah,
and...
I mean, a lot, I mean, obviously a lot, all we're doing now is sort of, we're using LinkedIn a lot because a lot of actors don't use LinkedIn, but all the executive producers, writers, and directors in the world are on LinkedIn. So we use LinkedIn a lot. We pitch ourselves via Instagram, via Twitter. We email, pitch ourselves. So video pitches, straight to camera pitches are really working well right now. So we're doing a lot of that, and we actually do a few. We've always done in-person events, and now we're doing all virtual events. So we've really had to pivot as a company, and also help our clients pivot because you know, I think gone are the days of in-the-room auditions.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think that's, I mean, I think you and I, we talked about this off camera, but this is the same way I've talked about mainstream TV and doing network performances. And I'm not here to boast that, oh, I go on TV, but the days of sitting in a studio and meeting everybody and sitting in the green room, that doesn't exist anymore. It's show up 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you're hit, put an earpiece in your ear, get some decent lighting, and live with your webcam. And this is how you're going to do a lot of your media is sitting. I mean, you're seeing it. I mean, look at Ryan Seacrest. I mean, look at you and I mean, but Ryan Seacrest, I look at him, look at his beautiful locks of hair the man has, because he's not going to the barber all the time. I mean, a lot of these folks can't get into the studio, and it's good to see them. I mean, how long has Chris Cuomo been broadcasting from his basement? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I love that dude, but he's been in his basement. I mean, look at Don Lemon. The dude needs to go get a haircut. Don Lemon with a fro just doesn't look right. And I tweeted that.
I had a client that, I mean, I can't believe he grew like a beard, like down to here. And so today he showed up to our mastermind call, and everyone was like, he actually lives in New York, and he made it to the barber. And so he got it all trimmed down. I was like, oh my God, because he looked like the Unabomber, and now he looks like normal. And I couldn't believe how fast his beard grew. So it's true. I mean, everything we were already doing, like in the last 5 years, the amount of self-tapes I did as an actress increased by like tenfold. And now I just don't even understand why we ever have to go back into the room again. I mean, I just think it's ridiculous. I don't think we ever have to. So that's good news for actors, because literally, as long as you're able to get somewhere for a booking, or more importantly, or better, I should say, they're going to have to start paying for our transportation rather than us paying for our own. But as long as you know, that I feel like we can audition from anywhere, which means that actors don't need to live in the most expensive cities anymore.
Yeah.
New York and LA. Yeah. You know, we can live in other places, and because everything is self-tape. And with that being said, as an actor, if you don't have the ability to self-tape, well, you need to get it, because that's the direction we're moving in.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think it is great, because I was just talking to somebody earlier about the fact that we've now moved to this traditional workforce, right? If you ever worked in the regular workforce, you know that 9 to 5 grind. I mean, Dolly Parton made a great movie about it, but you don't need it anymore. Truly, you can work 2 hours. I mean, I got my job today. If my clients are watching, I got everything done in like 3 hours today, and I'm done. I mean, and most of it was work that normally during non-COVID, I'd be on a plane doing something, being in a studio where I'd be distracted or have staff. But we don't even live out of our WeWork office anymore. We're literally in our house. Everybody on our team is remote, scattered everywhere. And this is just...
I know. My husband just said to me last night, he's like, I don't want to go back to work, you know, and he's a chef. And so he just found out that where he works just reopened. And he's like, I don't want to go back to work. I really enjoyed this. And and, you know, it's been for him and I mean, thank God we haven't gotten sick, but for him and I, it's been a really good thing. You know, it's strengthened our relationship and it's helped us build things digitally that we've been talking about forever, but just didn't have the time to do. And it's been great, you know. So for us, I mean, you know, I say that thinking of, you know, poor people that have gotten this and lost family members or, you know, it's terrible.
Yeah, it is. And it's, you know, and we were just talking to a doctor before you, and one of the big things that we always talk about is, like, it's so simple for us to stay safe and healthy. And a lot of us have, like, I've bonded closer. I have older kids, so my youngest is 13. So literally being able to hang out with them, it's actually, you know, as bad as COVID is, you know, we're lucky we haven't got sick. My parents haven't got sick. We know people have got sick, but we've built a lot. We've done a lot. We've been able to touch our creative side. I launched the show during COVID. So to me, it's creativity. It's just better. It's actually assessed more of my, like, I'm like, let's go be ultra creative today. And I think people need to look at the brighter side of everything instead of always look, you know, the Monty Python's famous song, always see, you started nodding your head. You know where I was going. There we go. Woohoo! I love it when my guests are on the same wavelength as me. It's great when I start doing the Monty Python. I always look at the bright side of life. Doo-doo.
That's like one of my favorite movies.
Right?
Life of Brian. I love that movie.
I introduced my kids to that during COVID, and they're now addicts to The Holy Grail, Life of Brian, and then a whole bunch of 80s movies that, I mean, my kids were already 80s fiends, but now they've...
I've been on, you know, how many podcasts and web things I've been on this time, but I was on one and they said, what's your favorite movie? And I said, Brazil. And they never heard of it. And I was like, oh, that's a great movie. And there's a great cameo by Robert De Niro in it. And I just love Monty Python and, you know, anything.
Yeah, it's solid. So, I mean, it's good to hear. But, I mean, your husband being a chef, that is good that restaurants are opening. I know how key that is to a lot of, I mean, I think besides, you know, Hollywood and commercials, we've had 2 commercial producers on our show. And besides, you know, Broadway being shut down, I think the food industry has just been
That's the hardest hit. I mean, that's one of the hardest hits is the food industry.
Just slammed. I mean, even talking about Broadway, what we did talk about is we don't even know if we're getting Saturday Night Live when they come back from the summer break. And it's election 2020, and we depend on Alec Baldwin. We need Alec Baldwin for our...
But I thought their in-home stuff got better and better every week they did it. Which I thought, man... It was really fun to watch the different shows, how they adapted as they went along, like The Voice, Saturday Night Live. You know, like they started off and then by the end it was like really good. It was like, wow, look at these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy Fallon is kind of living proof of making it really good for doing his show. And we talked about The Daily Show earlier. I am a huge junkie for Trevor Noah. Anything Trevor Noah I'm a fan of. I love him and Jon Stewart. So when they were both on Trevor's show the other day, it was like way too much of a perfect world for me. But I mean, I think Trevor's done an amazing job also for showing that you could do an entire show from what looks like his closet. Just like, you know, Jimmy's got a little bit more space out there in the Hamptons, so he's got a little bit more, as his People magazine cover showed. But I mean, I think they're showing that we can do that, so you don't need the big shows, the big everything. And they're all, and the common thing, you said it about your husband, Jimmy said it about being home with his kids and his wife, Trevor has said the same thing. It's just building better relationships by being able to do everything at home. And I know most of the networks, besides those people at Fox, they're already back in the studio because I don't know why they're back, but everyone else is staying away from each other. But I think it's just important that people have kind of looked at the bright side. So if we can get Broadway back, that'll be great, but we do need TV shows. I know I'm a Mandalorian fan, so they need to start doing that. And Billions split their season finale, so they had a mid-season finale due to COVID. And I'm like, Billions is supposed to still be on. It's supposed to be what I watched during the summer before Mandalorian comes back on, and they're not filming. So
I feel that way about Handmaid's Tale.
yeah, so we're all in the same boat. We all have our shows. We need it. And you're right. We have gone through our Netflix where you're like, how many more episodes of The Office can I watch? I mean, I love it, but how many more episodes can we watch? And my children will tell you we could watch them over and over because we've probably watched 100 times because that's our show. But it's been great chatting with you. I absolutely
you too.
Love this conversation. I hope our guests are out there. So for folks out there that are interested in connecting with you, if they are actors, and okay, answer this before you go. Is it actor and actresses, or can I call an actress an actor and not be politically wrong or politically incorrect?
I think it doesn't really matter. I mean, because it never mattered to me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm an actor. An actor is what I am, and you're an actress. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
But I mean, I think the actor is the term that we just are. It's like thespian, right? Like. So, and if you want to reach out to me, actorsfasttrack.com is our website, and you can fill out a form on there, and we'll reach out to you. There's tons of stuff about us online and ways to reach out to us. So we always, talk to someone initially, and, we're never hard selling someone. We always like to talk to them and find out about them, what they're trying to do, and then eventually, like, if they want to work with us, they work with us. So that's the way it works.
I love it. That's good. I mean, folks need to be able to reach out and figure it out. And it's been great chatting with you. I mean, we're going to have you back when Broadway gets closer to reopening and when we have more commercials. I'm just curious how this is all going to play out. I mean, I know we didn't talk about it, but we've got the Super Bowl commercials because the NFL is going to push forward with the season. The same goes with the NBA. They start at the end of this month. They're going to have commercials, obviously, with the NBA Finals taking place in October. I don't want people to don't think for a second these commercials aren't going to get filmed and put in there. There's a lot more sponsor space and a lot more ad space with fans not in the stands. You better believe, with our eyeballs watching at home, commercials are going to get produced, and it doesn't matter if there's 10 people on set. Everybody wear their mask and make commercials because those will be out there. Don't think 2021 cars won't get released. Trust me, they will.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back after these messages. We have an amazing guest for us today. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship and how to become an entrepreneur. It's one of those very difficult steps to take. It's difficult. Mark Cuban has famously said that there's entrepreneurs and wannapreneurs. Wannapreneurs are the people who still work for someone and launch a business and haven't quite had the courage to jump all in their business that they created. So they still work for the man while building their own business. Calls those wannapreneurs. And then there's entrepreneurs, folks that jump head in and run businesses. And it's not all, you see all the cute memes and the GIFs. Well, I could tell you, being an entrepreneur is like riding a roller coaster. It's beautiful, it's wonderful one day, it's absolute chaos the next. But I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. Making your own hours, building your own team, and learning the lessons that TV has lied to you that being a CEO or a founder is easy. It's absolutely not. But it's the most rewarding thing that you can ever do. Knowing that you work your butt off, you build a team, and you deliver an amazing product and experience for your clients. Today's guest is going to tell us how she's built this amazing business and how by following some of her easy steps, you can own your own business too. So let's welcome and get to the point with today's guest, Charity Brown. Welcome back and welcome to the show, Charity. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks, Eric. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. Excited to have you on the show. I love talking about entrepreneurship. It's one of my favorite topics because it's a game changer. It actually changes your life for good and for bad. And I love the roller coaster ride that is entrepreneurship. And just last week, we had an amazing conversation with an OG Shark Tank, Mr. Kevin Harrington. I love saying that. When I do that, I always think he's like in a flannel with a teardrop out of the side of his face. So it's OG, but no. I love him because he's one of those keep it real entrepreneurs that just shoots from the hip and tells you what's going on. So with your background, you are the CEO of the Now Answer Group. So
Correct.
you help entrepreneurs. So before we get started, kind of tell everybody, what your group does. So folks kind of have an idea before we jump in and I just start asking you a bunch of entrepreneurial questions.
Okay, well, the Now Answer Group is a high-level CFO consulting firm that also has created a platform for entrepreneurs to grow and scale their business. We have helped several people start their business from scratch, and also multi-million-dollar corporations streamline their financial controls, their KPI reporting, and cash flow, along with helping them get funding.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that those are important. I think what people don't get with entrepreneurship is you need someone to help guide you on your journey of entrepreneurship. Going it alone is not always a good job, right? There's business plans and all those things. And it's funny, when I started our business, Life-Led Media, I basically Googled how to do a business plan. Like, it was like, how am I going to build my business? And I did it the difficult way. I wish I would have known, like, someone like you existed in the world, because I would have been like, help me, Obi-Wan. Because this is hard. Because it's true. You bump your head along the way, and it's like, I look back and I'm like, I like failure. Failure's pretty cool. It's helped me grow my business. But there's a couple, like, I could have skipped a few steps if I would have had a guide through this canyon that leads you onto the way to this amazing journey that is entrepreneurship. So, let's talk about something Kevin Harrington talked about last week. Let's talk about the behind the curtain, what it's like to be an entrepreneur. It's not all bells and whistles and sunshine and butterflies. I know we all portray that online with everybody, but it's a grueling process being your own boss or leading somebody else by creating your own business. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly. So my entrepreneurship started off with some major entrepreneurship boot camp. I had a couple restaurant, bars, and lottery facilities, and it's like war, okay? It's not this glamorous, beautiful thing. We make multi-millions of dollars, and we go home to our families and take, 10-day vacations every other month. It's really about getting that sweat equity and really putting your lifeblood into your business. If you're really serious about it, no one's going to hand it to you. So the thing is that reaching out, like Kevin said, and about my program, that it is really about finding an expert, finding somebody that's been there, that's found the easier ways to get through business, to know what the pitfalls are, to know the key foundational concepts and compliance that it takes to start a business, scale your business, and also nurture your business and your clients and your customers and your staff. So it's a process. And I learned it the hard way. It's a hard knock life for some of us. You're right. It's not like this, magic carpet ride that, you just kind of skate through. It is really about multiple failures and learning from them, and then pretty much not letting disappointment drive you, but let it fuel you. Yeah. So it's a very complicated process, to make 7-8 figures. So it's really about eliminating self-doubt, working on your inner fitness, having a good plan, executing the plan, and then having the right tools and resources so you can manage your money, your cash flow, and being able to leverage that.
So before we talk about tools, let's talk about mentorship a little bit, because I think that is key. I know as a veteran, I have leaned on, and I'm going to say their name because they're a game changer for my career, and I love working with them. It's called Valorie. It's a great place for folks in corporate America to assist veterans who are transitioning out, get a mentor, so they figure out what they're doing. Because mentorship, for a lot of us, if you've never done it and never transitioned out of the military, I can tell you they haven't updated it since like the 70s. So the advice is horrible. Like, go get a job. If you were in the infantry, become law enforcement. Everybody else go figure it out. Oh, by the way, when you get out, go on unemployment, get on all this assistance, and don't really try. That's basically the advice of the day that doesn't work. So finding mentors is something I love doing. I mentor several folks myself, which I love doing. But it started with me getting mentored and being the mentee first. And I know Kevin talked about it. So what's your thoughts on that, and where do people go? I mean, do you mentor people? Do you have mentors?
Yeah, so that is the key to my success. 25 years ago, I went to Unleash the Power Within convention with Tony Robbins, and it just unleashed and lit me up, turned me on fire. I was like, I finally found it. I know what I need to be doing. And those tools that Tony had instilled in us for the 4 days in the Firewalker convention, going through all those, physiological changes, mental reprogramming, remapping, and implementing those day to day really has taken me so far. But you can't just stop there. It's a constant growth process. You always have to have somebody that knows more than you to kind of guide you through life, because there are going to be times where you need to have somebody help you with some of these most complicated things that entrepreneurs run into. And so that is why I designed my 5-star business accelerator, which is a hybrid coach/consulting e-learning program. So not only do I consult you on these high-level CFO level tools and like accountability systems, but I also go through a series of coaching and a 9-step program that really works on your inner fitness. And so that's Kevin did an amazing endorsement for me. I'm going to his mastermind in August. I'm working really closely with him, and I also work with Ty Lopez. He's like one I've paid lots of money to have one-on-ones and have live calls with Ty often. I've been building my business. Sam Evans, he is actually the one that helped me build my consulting business. He owns consulting.com. And so I'm just constantly always trying to, better enlighten myself, work on that inner fitness along with the newest, best high-tech tools.
I love it. So let's talk about tools. Tools are important for everybody. So what are some of the most helpful transition tools that you have helped your clients?
So I have a couple different main programs. So my I call it sometimes my Wantapreneur program, which is the concept in your head. You have a skill, you have a trade, and you just don't know how to execute all the legal documents. You don't know how to set up a good business plan. You don't want to do it on your own and download and listen to YouTube videos. I do a live group consulting where I walk entrepreneurs or Wantapreneurs into their dream business, essentially. And so I do that by showing them how to go to these certain apps and enter all the proper information and really get down to the key foundational items that a lot of people just brush past because they don't have someone to say, hey, you really need to take time and really think about your client avatar or your customer avatar. Who are they? Where do they eat? Are they married? How old are they? How much do they make? You really need to know exactly who your client is, where your revenue is going to come from. I dial into a lot of the key foundational things like budgets, forecasts. Is this feasible? Have you done a SWOT test? Do you know what your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities are? Where are your threats? Where are your competitive threats? Going through a process that really picks the entrepreneur's brain and makes sure that their idea is really can be fulfilled through concept all the way through the whole business lifespan. So once we do that, then we work on branding, we work on the LLC agreements, what is best for them in regards to financial software, things like that. So it's real life. They learn QuickBooks, they learn what a cash flow statement is, they get their business registered on Dun & Bradstreet, they get business credit, they learn how to utilize all the tools that nobody really ever talks about that are so essential to be successful.
I love that, because that is key, and a lot of folks don't do it. And like I actually built our business, my first business plan. I actually Googled it and then watched YouTube videos. And you're right, it's not pleasant, it's not entertaining, it's nothing but frustration trying to do it on your own. So a coach like you would have been a major asset. I'm actually thinking of people that I need to refer to you, like right away, that they come leaning on me. They're like, Eric, I want to start a business. And I don't know why, because I'm not the business whisperer at all. I could tell you about media, but if you want accounting, there's a reason why our company is split the way it is, where my wife is the co-founder and actually is the CEO of our company and actually runs the backside of the because it's not my strength. And having a coach like you for when we were smaller would have been great. Let's talk about common questions. And I know a lot of folks ask all of us as entrepreneurs that have had success, what to know about being a successful entrepreneur. So what are some of the most common questions you get as somebody who's a consultant in this space? Clearly you've attended some of the best masterminds out there, hanging with Ty Lopez and those folks. Those guys are amazing to be able to pick their brains. So what are some of the most common questions you get about how to become a successful entrepreneur?
Well, yeah, the most common question is, how do you do it? Like, how do you become a successful entrepreneur? What is the magic ingredient, right? Mm-hmm. And you said it, Kevin said it, find a mentor, find a coach, you need to have help. You need to have someone who knows, so you can avoid the pitfalls. Because like you said, for the do-it-yourselfers that go and they want to set up their LLC and they want to register their business ID number, find their federal ID number, they forget to do their business plan, they forget to write LLC after their business name, they don't put the right letters, and now someone else owns it. All kinds of stuff happens, Also, if you're not really watching your KPIs, your key percentage indicators, and know what optimal performance for your business is, then you're not going to be able to manage your cash flow and really get those extra dividends at the end of the end of the term, whatever that may be. So I think success is in the eyes of the beholder, really. Like, can you attain your goals? Can you follow through? Are you feeling fulfilled? Because you can be really successful and have 7 figures in the bank, but feel completely deflated, defeated, and just effed up, and not feel like, I built this business. Now I feel destroyed. I feel like just my soul is just desecrated, and that is not success. Yes, I've made $1 million, but how do you feel? So that is what is the new magic formula in my program, is to really do the heart-brain connection. Okay, when I was an entrepreneur, when I started out 20 years ago, when I started my first bookkeeping and accounting business, when I got my first degree, when I started having 10, 15, 20 clients paying me to, do their books, I started getting into the entrepreneur's head. They were my clients. They were my allies. I was their ally. I was there for them. And so I found out everything that was like really plaguing them and where the major issues were. It gave me a good roadmap to build my business, because I watched a lot of failures. I watched a lot of mistakes, just because people are just bulldoze through their feelings. They're not even connected anymore. It's a complete disconnect of their soul and their real mission in life, their real true calling, and people want me to get back in their headspace, in their heart space, and really connect the two and be like, does this feel good? Is this what you need?
I love that you said that. That is so true about entrepreneurship. And so many people miss the boat when they talk about entrepreneurship, because everybody, I think, Charity, and I want your feedback on this. So many people come to me and they're like, oh, it looks so easy. You built this business. And everybody I talk to, from Kevin Harrington to Robbie Blanchard today, even, Bridger Pennington, who's been on our show. There's been one entrepreneur that I've talked to that's successful, that's like, dude, I got this overnight and I just hit it and it was amazing. This isn't the lottery. I mean, everybody compares themselves to either Grant Cardone or Gary Vee or Lewis Howes or, Ed Milet. The list goes on, folks that I look up to, Amy Porterfield. None of these folks are overnight successes. All of them will give you some number as an overnight success of years. We've have other people on Women Wednesday, Miss Cynthia Frunze, when she's on, she'll be the first person to tell you she's a 10-year success story. Robbie Blanchard said that he's a 5-year success story. So I think everybody wants to get rich quick, but there's no such thing as get rich quick, in my eyes, as an entrepreneur. So I think that's the first thing we have to dispel.
Yeah, it's all a myth. We all know that it's not overnight get rich quick scheme. Yeah, maybe e-commerce, you hit the first 6 figures in like 2 months, you're going to hit that $1 million. But how long did it really take that person to build that dream, that website, that content? How many failures did they go through? Like how many restful nights did they have where, everything was just weighing so heavily on them? And nobody talks about the reality of it. It's like kind of like glorified, right now, because like all those people that you discussed, they have a huge social media presence. They have a huge online presence. So like it blankets millions. People see you. People are seeing your success now, but they didn't witness the ultimate failures that almost destroyed you, that you came back from. And that is when the success happens, when you know what it feels like to hit rock bottom and to be completely, up in arms and like defeated and feel like, it's the end, and then to come back. And so that's really where most of the mentors that I come from, they have all hit that. I have hit that. I have, had several instances in my life where I thought I was going to lose it all. And I double laminectomy, back surgery. I was bent over in pain for 3 years of crawling to the toilet. I couldn't even get down my stairs. I mean, literally shattered me from the inside because of just the complete, selling my restaurants and getting out of the business. And it almost destroyed me, because it was like I forgot to connect my soul and my heart from my brain, and my business was taking over my life, and I could not like put these certain controls in place where I could actually live my life. I could actually enjoy my daughter's birthday party. I could actually go on vacation. Like, it really is a mindset thing, and I found out it's completely mental. Like, seriously, it's all in our heads. And if we just had the right plan, and we had an executable plan, and we had someone holding us accountable and reminding us how amazing our plan is, and how organized it is, and if we just keep going through the day, that we can make it. But there's not a lot of people out there, especially for women. I mean, I don't know a lot of women entrepreneurs that have been through it, that really understand, how hard it is to stand as an owner on the lines with 300 employees and 5 locations, and be able to, support the group and support themselves at the same time. It's really hard. But if I had coaches like I have now, if I had the mindset that I had now, that would be cake for me. Yeah. And I have implemented that with several of my clients. I was the corporate controller for a location up here in Portland. They had 24 locations, and we opened like 5 more. And, there was 800 employees, and we did really well. And I did really well helping them, but not so much. It wasn't really that glorified of an experience for me personally.
And that's true. And I think that's why we have Women Wednesday on our show, is to talk about and role models and point people in the right direction, with so many amazing female leaders out there in the world that we have today. And they come on our show, and they're amazing, just like you. It's good because they need that, because I'm a father of 2 daughters, besides having my awesome 13-year-old son. But I look at my almost 16-year-old daughter, and I know she's looking for role models, and all of her role models, because she wants to be into journalism, they're all amazing women in media. I mean, from even here locally, from the amazing Brooke Oldesheim, who is the sideline reporter for the wonderful Portland Trailblazers, to Cooper Lawrence, who's an amazing radio host in New York, to several producers at some studios in New York. Everybody wants to help her, and I think that's the key to doing this, is having role models and people who will help you, guide you through this journey, because you and myself, we've all kind of hiked this trail on our own, and we can tell you it's not pretty, it's not a scenic trip, it's not like you're looking around and you're packing a lunch while you do this. It's a lot of stumbling, falling, hurting your knee, twisting your ankle, and you're like, holy crap, if I would have had, like I say, I understand I need to have some of the twists and the tweaks, but if I would have had just a little bit of help along the way and not try to do it that I think a lot of people suffer for this, and that's kind of what I want to close with. Is I have a couple things for you, but the one we're going to close with is, what are some of the most common business pitfalls, the whole setting up your first year of operations, that some of your clients have run into, and how do you help them sidestep? Because I know, for one, if I would have had that in year 1, there's a lot of missteps we wouldn't have had that we had, because I wasn't looking for that. Because when you're trying to grow and build at the same time, as everybody's kind of kidded during COVID-19, we've all had to pivot a lot of our businesses to build the jet as it goes down the runway, which is extremely hard to do. I don't think we would have been able to make the pivot we made in COVID-19 if it wasn't for all of the failures we had before, and now having advisors and mentors and masterminds that I belong to that have helped me. And you got to spend money to make money, and I just think that's a whole nother subject that we could talk about at a later time. But you said it earlier about spending money on your mastermind, going to masterminds and having one-on-ones with guys like Ty Lopez. Same thing. I'm the same way. You have to spend money, get in front of these folks, and they're not just there to take a photo with you. They're going to give you the insight, but you got to spend money. It's how we all don't work for free. I'm sorry. That's not how capitalism works. I hate to break it to people. This has nothing to do with politics. It's how we make money, and it's called capitalism. And I don't work for free, and I'm pretty sure you don't work for free. I mean, I will help a veteran in any day of the week, but business people, don't come to me and ask with your charity cup out thinking I'm going to show up. See what I did there, charity cup? Don't come here with that.
I work for nonprofits for free sometimes.
Yeah, so do I. I don't mind that, but I'm talking about everybody just thinks, oh, give it to me. And it's a mentality that entrepreneurs don't get. So what do what's some of the common business pitfalls that your clients are seeing in their first year, and how do you kind of progress them to sidestep those?
Yeah, so I'm sure you know this, and I do too, because I have started over probably like 20 of my own businesses and hundreds of other businesses for other people. So that's why the foundations are so important, because that is where the stumbling block is. It was in the inception of the business, the very inception of that business, setting it up wrong with the partners, setting it up wrong with the IRS, having the wrong IRS classification, so you're paying extra tax, or maybe not even having a federal ID number, and just operating out of your bank account and not really being able to get lines of credit or get any kind of buy a building or a property because you didn't set the business up correctly, or you don't have the plan, and so you're just spinning in your seat all the time, and you don't know which way is right or left, and your inner compass is just woo, and it's just like just go where the fire, just make more money, but that's the true entrepreneur, the one that has the fire under their fanny, that they just keep going. But really what they needed to do is step back, take a minute, and really go through these key fundamental processes. Even my advanced course, the Happy CEO, where I take high-level CEOs and executives through this mind map of the Zen zone, where we go into the inner fitness, and then we just review all of their business functions and make it like a well-oiled machine. So it's not clunk, 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 clunk. It's like, this is the machine, the process of making things go round that feels good to you, that delivers your KPIs and reporting. You can pass audits, you can get tax returns to the bank, you can, kind of see your future, forecast, develop skills to be able to look farther than just now, and really kind of become like a business GPS. Essentially, you will learn how to navigate the treacherous seas of being a CEO, owner, boss of many, and be able to still enjoy life. So not setting up businesses properly, putting the cart before the horse, not knowing your numbers, being totally financial illiterate, not thinking about all these very key, important things that are complicated. I have a triple degree in business administration and accounting and new media communications, and none of my degrees taught me anything other than my key tool, which is money, how to manage money really well. But none of those really taught me how to be an entrepreneur. And none of the tools that I learned from the university was even close to the type of information I learned from my mentors.
I love that you bring that up, because I think it's true that a lot of us have degrees. I know a lot of people who their degrees are nothing what they're doing today, and it's always something I see as chatted on LinkedIn by our circle of folks that I hang out with. It's just everybody talks about it, like your degree. Like a lot of people, like mine's a criminal justice, but I don't do anything in the criminal justice field, period, end of sentence, hard stop. It's like, trust me, I can speak it, but I don't do it. And there's a lot of people who majored in a lot of different things. And that's something I learned with being in the Silicon Valley and working for so many startups, is most people aren't doing, besides the engineering folks, the people who can code things wicked that I pay ridiculous amounts of money to do because there's no way I'm going to figure it out. I mean, I know how to code. I taught myself. Because again, working in a startup, our CEO, who I loved, and he's a mentor of mine, Jason Limkin, who has been acquired like 4 or 5 times, companies he's created, always said you have to learn how to do stuff so you can be dangerous. That way you can get the job done on your own. And it's something I took into entrepreneurship because so many people don't look at entrepreneur as you have to know how to do everything. Because at first you're not going to be able to go hire a ton of people. And you need to know how to do everybody's role, including the janitor's job, right? I think Bill Gates said that best, where you need to know how to do everybody's job in the building when you are the CEO, especially as an entrepreneur. And that's been so key to success for so many I know, is having the humble ability to take yourself down a notch and be like, yeah, I may have this cool title CEO. It really doesn't mean much because there's like one person in the company. It's me. So great that you have a fancy title. Don't let it go to your head because you're also the janitor, the marketing, head of sales, head of engineering, except if you, depending on who your service provider is, if they'll help you. So before you go, I ask this of all of my entrepreneurs, and it is very key to, it's one of my favorite questions. So maybe you've tuned in and seen my question that I ask. What, as everyone knows, I'm an avid reader. I love reading books. So I'm going to ask you, Charity, what are your top 3 books that you like to read?
Well, I am totally into self-help guru. So always Tony's book, Awaken the Giant Within. The Power of Now is amazing. And I actually have it.
Sweet.
These are some of my best ones. The Power of Now.
Love it.
Okay. And Flow is good. This is my newest one.
Nice.
I haven't really started. And my friend Alan Knight, Zen Zone monk who helps me with the Happy CEO program, he has written an amazing book that actually has the 9 steps that we cover. So I'm going to pitch that right now because his book is amazing. And it is one of the key resources that we use. And we give it away for free on my website, so you can download it.
Woohoo. Well, before you go, tell folks how they can contact you and get a free book. Hey, I'm going to go because I love free books. I'm an avid reader. I think I'm looking around my office right now and I have about 6 books that I'm currently into besides what's on my Audible. I read as often as I can. If there's downtime, you won't catch me in front of a TV. You'll catch me reading. I just believe knowledge is power, and I think that's how I've had so much success is constantly. I mean, I was just telling someone the other day, one of my favorite books that I just finished reading was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and it's an amazing kind of mind bender. And I actually got the recommendation from a former Blazer and current starter from the Miami Heat, Myers Leonard. Because, it's amazing how your mindset can be one thing. And everybody thinks everybody who has money just sits around and doesn't figure out how to be humble about it. Because it's easy to get caught up that you can have nice things, but you always need to remember where you came from. And it's books like that that kind of bring you back to like, look, what if you did this? It's easy to get caught up in the rat race of taking so much time to work nonstop. Trust me, COVID-19 has almost driven me to the brink of illness from working too much, which I didn't think was possible, but you're literally bored. So you're like, what am I going to go do? Oh, what can I go build, launch, create? Oh, yeah. I mean, we're sitting on it talking right now. This is part of the problem. I created to the point because of COVID-19. I was like, I need to occupy more of my time and I want to have fun and get the news out and meet cool people and share their stories. And we created this little viral sensation, which I'm thankful for. But this is the proof of when boredom strikes, creativity hits. So it's good that you recommend that. So tell folks how they can get a hold of you and sign up for your courses because I think they're fabulous. You'll probably get a call from me really soon. So
great, thank you.
Tell everybody how to get a hold of you. Go ahead, you can do the promo stuff now, the good stuff.
Okay, nowanswergroup.com, and there's a button at the top right next to Kevin Harrington's endorsement of my program and my business, and it says free strategy session. So you can get 30-minute free strategy session. We can talk about your business idea or your business that may be driving you wild. I have several landing pages, but I won't pitch that right now. Maybe you can follow me on social media, Charity Brown 2020 on Instagram, and my Charity Brown Facebook page, and just nowanswergroup.com. There's a strategy link if you want to chat with me, have a one-on-one, 30 minutes. We can get through, a lot of stuff together. And it's a really great opportunity. And then I can tell you a little bit more about the programs and maybe which one I call it, I will prescribe you the correct program. So if you would like a fix, if you want the remedy, hit the strategy button.
I love it. Charity, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's always great to pick a very strong entrepreneur's brain and figure out what they're doing for their success. There's so many folks out there that want to become entrepreneurs. I let in before you came on, I was talking about wannapreneurs, right? Mark Cuban has famously said there's a lot of wannapreneurs that are out there that are afraid to put their foot fully in the pool of being an entrepreneur. It's scary. It's a scary step. Trust me, I was a wannapreneur at one time, working for a corporation. They long know that I've created what I've created, but they didn't, and I was afraid. I was like, it's cool, it's side income, right? Side hustle, when that was the cool buzzword a few years ago. And becoming an entrepreneur is the single greatest thing I ever did. Yes, lots of stress in the first years, but that's part of the growing process, and I didn't have all the tools in front of me that I now know exist. If folks like you were around, I would have called you and be like, Charity, help me do this. And I have a lot of folks that I think should be calling you, and I think a lot of folks who watch our show will be calling you, because you absolutely provide a great service. You're very humble and very authentic, which I think is key to a lot of success with working for people. Because I know, Charity, I'm going to leave you with this, and I'd love your feedback before you go. This is a question that came up just recently on our show, because we have coaches on and folks that help. How do you tell, there's a lot of them, this on social, we see them. So how do you tell the good from the bad? As somebody who's on the side of good, how do you know is there a question you should ask? What are you looking for? Without saying anything bad about people, I'm not saying that, but one of the questions our audience always will ask, and I know you guys are going to ask, is how do we tell, this sounds great, but how do we know, it costs money to get into this. I want to make sure I'm not getting scammed. And unfortunately, you and I both know that those people exist on social media that feed off of people just, hey, I want success, I want to build a business, and they're like, you don't know where to start. So what are suggestions for folks out there that they know that they're going to be okay? That, they're taking risk, yes, but they're not going to be scammed.
Yeah, well, in this business and consulting and coaching, you really can't fake it to make it. Like, you should be able to tell instantly after talking to somebody, they were really connected, or they seemed like really scripted. Like, a good strategy call, that is why I actually am giving those away. It's COVID. I'm also, want those people that have never had a coaching session to give it a try, because getting on the phone and being that real live voice, or getting on a Zoom, people should be able to tell if that person is fake or real. I have like hundreds of testimonials. I'm working on about 15 video testimonials of my current students that are finishing up their 5-star business accelerator during COVID. And so I've been doing a lot of work to make people feel more comfortable and let them know that, they're going to get the transformation and the results that I display on my page, or that I tell them in the strategy call. You will have a viable business. You will have the mindset of an entrepreneur. You will have a financial GPS, a business GPS, all dialed in specifically custom to your niche and your business. You will have branding. You will have a logo. You will be legal. You will be able to open a bank account. You'll be able to process credit cards. You will know how to set up financial statements and look at your money. You're going to have the most core foundational tools, the core ones that matter the most in business. And if they leave with that, they're like 1,000 steps ahead of other entrepreneurs, because a lot of people just get a business ID number and then think that they're legit, but they don't have all the foundational things to keep them in line, to keep them accountable to those goals, to know what their forecasts and their budgets are, and to know, how much it's going to cost them. Because a lot of people get blindsided and think the money's just going to start pouring and the customers are just going to come through the door like magic. Like, they have no idea. I have to spend money on marketing. I have to, come up with $10,000. Like, you're like, right? No, really think about this.
Yeah. I love the way you answered that, because it's true. You seem the person that I would go to. But I think the proof's in the pudding. I always tell people, don't just go off of a cute Facebook ad. There's a lot of them out there, but go look for testimonials and see where they're at. Obviously, you have the great Kevin Harrington on yours, plus others. I think that speaks volumes. Testimonials are key. We depend on testimonials. I have folks that I can refer people to have phone calls with, have those sessions. Don't just give people money, is what I always tell everybody, is like, have a strategy session. Sit down and hear what they have to say. You're going to know within, like you said, within seconds, if they're full of it, if they're like, just give me your money. I'm going to give you a cool ebook. And just follow that, because they clearly haven't done it been down that frustration. And I'm sorry, I was chuckling when you were talking about just getting a business ID number. I'm pretty sure my wife is laughing in another room right now after hearing that, because that's literally, I was like, that's all we got to do, right? We're cool. Like, what's a marketing budget?
I do that 100 times. You know, like, I got a new boutique online. I'm, you know, money's doing
ready to go. Oh, this has been too much fun, and plus you're local to us, so when we're done with COVID-19 and we're sitting on a set, you're definitely going to be joining us for sure since you're local. It only makes sense. But I want to thank you again, Charity, for joining us. Folks can connect with you on social and on your website. Make sure to check it out. Get that free session. I know we've been talking about entrepreneurship a lot this week on To The Point, and we're trying to help you guys. We have a lot of folks out of work and starting your own business. Now is the time. Put the money into it. Build it. You have coaches, you have people who can help you. Spend the money, you'll make the money, and it's worth it. So, Charity, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We'll have you back on real soon.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. And everybody else, we'll be right back after these messages. And that's our show for today, and another amazing Women Wednesday. Thank you to our guests, Valorie and Charity. Thank you for coming on the show today. And as always, we thank you for tuning in. Remember, if you know somebody or you yourself would like to be a guest on our show, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. Remember to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. No, don't follow us on LinkedIn. We're not on LinkedIn yet. So follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and of course on Facebook. And after you do all that, make sure you go and subscribe, like, and hit the little bell so you'll be notified on YouTube when we're on. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in on behalf of our entire team here at To The Point. You mean a lot to us, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. Tune in tomorrow for an amazing Throwdown Thursday. We have an amazing husband and wife team in the real estate business that are going to tell you how they've done so amazing during COVID-19 and how they built their business. So it'll be an amazing husband and wife duo for our Thursday Throwdown. You don't want to miss it. We have an amazing Friday show for coming to you, but we don't have a Saturday show this week. So don't be like, oh, there's a Saturday show. Thank God. No, there's not. Don't get used to that. I told the producers, no more Saturday shows. No, we can't do it. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching today. It means a lot to all of us. So thank you. So as always, I'm Eric Mitchell. Be safe. Be smart. Be strong. And God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point.